Everyone, welcome to the channel, and I hope everyone is doing good. So in this video, we are going to look into the second episode of the data migration series. In this video, we'll be looking into more of the data assessment part. In the first video or the first episode of the data migration series, we have understood about the fundamentals of data migration, and this video will go to the next step. So there are multiple projects of the data migration which fails not because of the tool's capability, not because of the wrong tool selection, just because the source system assessment was not done properly before starting the data migration project. So we'll understand each pointers in detail, like what all things we have to assess from the source system, like source application, source database, data volume, data quality, data schemas, dependencies, your inventory, your tables, and what are the business criticality. And guys, if you're not subscribed to our channel, then do subscribe to our channel and share this video and channel to your friends or colleagues who want to become a data engineer or who want to get into the next level of Gen AI. So let's start the video now. So for the assessment of the source system, the first thing is source technology. So you need to understand that what is your source database. There can be multiple source database or there can be a single source database. For example, there is a data migration from Oracle to Snowflake, Oracle to S3 data warehouse. So what is your source? Your Oracle is the source. Now, when you understand that which database is your source, then you need to look into what is the version of the database. According to the version, the functionality which is intact in that database will be under which will be known to the team. Then how many schemas are there, how many tables are there, how many views are there, and how many store procedures are there. So first to understand your source database, it's a simple process because we don't have to look into more of the things. But if there are multiple sources involved in the data migration, then it becomes complex. So the whole fundamental thing is to understand the source database if you're doing any database migration. Now, if you're doing any platform modernization, so we should understand the existing platform. In that case, your database, application, any other things involved in the technology need to be understood from the source side. The second thing, important thing is the data inventory. By data inventory, I means you need to understand each object which you are going to migrate. There can be multiple objects which you don't want to migrate. There can be many archival objects which you don't want to migrate or which is not in the scope of the data migration. But still doing the assessment, the first phase, the source assessment, you need to take that in account. That may not come into the account of effort estimation, but that will be there in your seat, in the presentation seat, that how many objects are there in the source system. So with the client, you can discuss with that which object is in the scope, which object is not in the scope. But in the assessment, you need to assess each object which is present in the source database, source platform, or source system. So by data inventory, so for each table, understand what is table name, what is the schema, what is the number of columns, meaning of each columns, business meaning of each columns, primary key, foreign key, any dependencies on that, any row count, what is the row count, what is the data size. I mean, just get the profile of that table. So you can create your own Python tool for getting it. There are multiple tools in the market, or you can leverage the LLM. You can write a code with the help and this leverage the LLM capabilities to get the profile of that tables. The other very important thing is data volume analysis, because your migration, what you call strategy, will depend on the data volume. There are multiple projects which I have seen that the data is very huge. For example, there are multiple video files. So in that case, the way of migration is very different. If you're using AWS Cloud, in that case, you have to take the help of the AWS people, the product people, to migrate the large volume of video files. But in this video, we'll not focus on the video or the audio of the files data. We'll be referring to a normal data which is available in the database or in the file system. Now, for example, if a customer table has 10 million record, so it becomes 5 GB. Policy tables 100 millions of record, it becomes 80 GB. So depending on the size, your strategy will change, and how it will change, I'll tell you now. For the small table, for example, these are the small table: transaction table, customers table, dimension table. So in the small table, you can directly do the full load. You can directly copy the data, put it in the target location. If there is no business transformation is required from Oracle to Snowflake, you can do it directly, or you can go through AWS. You can write a PySpark code to fetch the data from Oracle and put it into Snowflake table with the help of stages. In the medium table, you can do parallel extraction. For example, there is around 50 or 60 GB of table. Then you can use PySpark to do the parallel execution or Earlier, people used to write the scoop program. So in scoop, we can increase the number of parallelism that can be done. In larger table, we have to think about the partition extraction. Which partition we need to extract first? There, we have to also look into the incremental migration. Incremental migration means first today I load 2 GB of data, tomorrow I will load another 2 GB of data. So incremental migration, phase-wise migration has to be done if your data volume is used for a particular table. And obviously parallel processing will be there. Parallel processing is similar to parallel extraction. So incremental migration happens in most of the cases, because in most of the cases you will not be encountered with a small size of table, small volumes. There will be a larger volume of data. So in that case, incremental migration is very important. Maybe in the third episode, which will be the last episode of this series, there I'll be discussing more about the incremental migration and the practical application, or how we do it practically. We'll look into our on our last and the third episode. The other important thing is understanding the data relationship. Obviously, the data will be related business wise also, and technical referential integrity wise also. In that case, we need to understand that relationship, and accordingly, we have to migrate the table. Otherwise, we cannot do multiple kind of testing, a small set of testing in our target environment. So, for example, the customer has one to many relationship with the policy, and policy will have one to many relationship with the transaction. So if you're doing the transaction migration, there can be like policy not available because you have not migrated the policy. So we have to first migrate the transaction table, then get into the policy tables and the customer table. So referential integrity issues should not come while doing the testing. See, eventually when you will do the migration and all the migration has been completed, at that time you will not get this kind of issues. But if you have done a small portion of migration and you want to do some testing, or your testing team is parallelly working with the data migration team, in that case, the referential integrity issue will come and it will be very difficult to solve. In the real case scenario, these data are complex, these data are painful, and it will be very difficult to solve this issue. So it's better to chart down all the referential integrity. You will not get in most of the projects, you are not going to get any document for that. With the help of LLM, you can leverage LLM and create the dependencies sheet or dependencies graph. And according to that, you can start the phase-wise migration, and you can pinpoint which table has to be migrated first and which table has to be migrated at a later point of time. Okay, so we should identify parent-child relationship. We should identify foreign keys, lookup tables, multiple lookups, currency lookup tables, or any customer dimension lookup tables, referential data, master data, currency conversion is also one of the master data, transactional data, where the actual transaction happens. The other thing is data quality assessment. See, if just you copy the data and move into the target environment, it will work. But what will happen, for example, in the source side, if you have some bad quality of data, then you will just copy the bad quality of data, and that bad quality of data gets into your target system. And it happens in most of the data migration project. Your garbage of the first source gets into the garbage and becomes the garbage in the target system. So if you don't want to do that, you want to keep the data quality while doing the migration, then first in the first source assessment, try to understand the null values, duplicate records, invalid dates, invalid code, any orphan records, not usable records. So these kind of information you can get out of each table, and that you will get it in the table profiling. You can decide, your project can decide like which parameter you want to do, check for the data quality. And the migration team should decide, should invalid data need to be migrated? There are multiple historical transaction records which are not valid at this time, but still that need to be migrated. Should it be corrected? There are multiple times clients ask like the records which are not correct in our source system should be corrected with some kind by applying some transformation on top of it. So that also need to be asked to the client, and that you can ask only when you do the source system assessment. Should it be quarantine? If you want to remove it, or so, what do we have to apply for the data quality rules? In most of the data migration, you need to apply for the data quality rules. So just get into data quality things. You can look for what is data quality, and if you want to understand more into what is data quality, how to look for it, how you can leverage AI for getting the data quality rules, post it in the video comment. I'll come up with a solution. The other thing is identifying the dependencies. Your table is being used in ETL jobs, stored procedures. It is used in creating the reports, in APIs, in some downstream application. So try to create when you will do the table profiling, you will get all this stuff. Or there can be multiple databases, and when you do the database profiling independently, then you can write a wrapper on that profiling sheet, or you can leverage any of the AI tool, and that will help you to create not a linear, a linking between the table dependencies, table impact analysis. This is mostly an impact analysis, and that will give you the full picture of the dependencies. And this will help you to identify the phase-wise migration. We should also identify which are the business critical table. And in this case, you need to talk to the BA people or the business people directly. Nowadays, I don't think a technical person has to depend mostly on the B8 people. They have to mostly, or the technical architect have to discuss directly with the client to understand which all tables, which all datas are on the P1 criticality, means high criticality, which has having a low criticality, and according to that, you can phase wise your migration. So overall, for this source system and assessment, this is what is a normal flow. Like this, there's a source system, source inventory that you have to analyze, volume analysis, structure analysis, data quality analysis. Then with the help of that, you can identify the dependencies analysis. Then from when you get everything like all kind of volume, structure, and data quality, we got the dependencies analysis on sheet, multiple sheets, and then you can on top of you can create a small tables and you can play around that, and then you can create a business criticality metrics on top of that, and that will create a source assessment report. Like I have done it with the AI tool. You can use the Copilot, and that will be, you can take a small database, you can play around that, you can create the seed, and that is not a big, it's not a tough thing. But to understand the parameter, what parameter you need to take on the data quality, what kind of volume analysis you have to do, that is more critical. Getting into dependencies analysis is more critical, and that will create your final assessment report. And when you have all this source assessment report, then you can go to the migration strategy, how you will phase wise the migration. And after that, the choice of tools, you will not have multiple choice. You will have set of tools which has been laid by the client or your product company. When you have to choose the tool in that direction, all tools are same. If your migration strategy is good, I think all the, like in the current industry, the tools which are available at current time, it's all tools are good in doing the data migration. So this was all about the episode 2 of the data migration series. So by the episode 3, you will understand the full process, and when you go through episode 1, 2, and 3, you will get everything. If you are new to the data migration, first go to the episode 1 and then come to the episode 2. That will be more logical and that will make more sense to you. If you have any doubt, apart from the data migration, GenAI, any topic, MCP, which we by current series also going on. So please put it on the comment. I'll come up with the solution. Put your suggestion in the comment. That is also very welcome. We'll meet in the next video. Till then, happy learning and goodbye.